So good evening. I know folks are going to be moving in probably slowly, so I'll just be adding folks to this as the time goes by. But we wanted to give our students an opportunity to learn more about research experiences for undergraduates. In our first experience group that we're focused on is Iowa State University. So you have with us Dr. Monica Lamm, who's in chemical and biological engineering at Iowa State University, and Dr. Pranav Shrotriya. Did I pronounce that correctly?
That was perfect.
Okay, thank you. Who's in mechanical engineering at Iowa State University. So I'm going to hand it over to them to do their presentation about RAUs on their campus, and then we'll open it up for Q&A once they have completed their presentation. And you can ask your questions in the chat if they come up during, so that we're just able to keep a running visual of the questions and be prepared to answer them.
Okay, sounds great. Well, thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to come and talk to you about REUs. REU stands for Research Experiences for Undergraduates. We thought we'd tell you a little bit about what those are in general, and then what they're like at Iowa State as well. So a research experience for undergraduate is something that is an experience for undergraduate students that happens typically during the summer. There are a few exceptions, but for the most part, be thinking about this as something that you can do in the summer between the academic years. They're typically last for 10 weeks and you get paid to do them. They're a paid summer research internship. You know, the amounts that you're compensated will vary by the REU program and by the location, but you can expect to receive a stipend, which is essentially your weekly salary. At Iowa State, it's typically about $500 per week, but again, you know, this will just give you a ballpark estimate. Your housing and food costs are also covered by the program. At Iowa State, we use campus housing, so we provide and organize campus housing for you in campus apartments that are furnished for you for the summer. And then you can also expect to have your expenses for getting to the REU program and then back to your home reimbursed. Typically, again, you know, up to $800, but you just kind of, you know, if you're like maybe in Tulane, you may not want to drive to, say, Ames, Iowa, but you may want to fly. That's no problem. We'll cover the cost of a flight. We'll pick you up from the airport. We'll get you settled into the apartment. So we really want to make sure in any RU program, whether it's at Iowa State or anywhere else, that, you know, all those practical barriers are just eliminated so that you can participate fully in the program. One thing that a lot of students that I talk to about undergraduate research programs don't realize is that you don't need research experience to be a competitive applicant to an REU program. In fact, the NSF, or National Science Foundation, which provides the funding for these REUs, really emphasizes to us that this money is to be used to provide research experiences to students who otherwise don't have the opportunity to do research at their home universities. We make sure at our REU sites that since all the REU sites that we'll talk about today are in the College of Engineering or in STEM, we provide you with all the lab safety and technical skills training that you will need to be successful in the research project that you're assigned. Some of those are done during the first week right off the bat in a training with the rest of the cohort that's coming in for the REU. Typically, our program, and I think Dr. Shrotriya's is similar, we bring in about 10 to 12 students a summer. So, you know, we're able to do a lot with you as a group, as an incoming group, as far as different training and professional skills development to get you off to a good start. And then you'll join one of the research labs in our REU. all throughout the summer, you can expect in an REU to get professional skills training as well. So this could be communications training, you know, how to give a presentation or how to give a poster presentation. We also provide training on research ethics. A lot of our programs are related to biological systems, and there's some unique ethics that come up with that. So we have an expert in bioethics on our campus who comes and works with you on just different things to consider about the ethics of the research that we're doing. We also provide an opportunity through a workshop for you to explore graduate school. Now, I'll talk about this in just a next slide, but part of the research experience for an undergraduate student is to find out, is graduate school something that I may want to be doing full time? Do I want to continue my studies into graduate school? And so we do set aside about a half a day to do a workshop on graduate school, from, you know, how to apply to graduate school to, you know, how to what's the day in the life of a graduate student like, what are some of the major milestones and things, you know, what is it like to be in graduate school? All throughout the summer, as you're an RU student, you'll be mentored by a professor, so someone like me or Dr. Shrotriya or another member of our faculty. And usually you'll also have some other mentors as well. So in these research groups that we have, it's usually led by a professor, and they have one or more graduate students or postdoctoral scholars. So this is someone who's completed graduate school and is, you know, staying in the lab or taking on a new position in the lab to get more research experience because they're training to possibly be a professor someday. So you'll usually have a like a group of mentors that'll be working with you that know your research project and know how to help you be successful. One thing I also wanted to point out about this particular type of research experience, the REU, is that all of the funding that universities get to run the REU sites comes from the National Science Foundation. So that means that students have to be a US citizen or a permanent resident to participate in these programs. So why you should consider an REU? First of all, this is a great way in just 10 short weeks to find out if research appeals to you, if it's something that you would enjoy, and it's something that you would want to continue further by joining a graduate program and continuing your studies. It's also a great way if you know, I know I want to do research, I know graduate school is in my pathway. It's also a great way to find out in 10 weeks if a research topic in particular appeals to you. So finding these out, and why I emphasize like in 10 short weeks, I think these are great ways to find out through an immersive experience if this is something you want to do long term, you know, without a lot of commitment, without, you know, committing to going to graduate school for 4 or 5 years. You get to try out graduate school, a graduate school like experience, for example, in 10 weeks. You know, I find, and I think Dr. Shrotriya and I have talked about this before, we find that it's a successful experience for students if they end the 10 weeks and they say, I love this so much, I can't wait, you know, to come back here and work on this more for graduate school, or I can't wait to apply to graduate schools all over the country now in this area. I'm so excited. That's a successful experience. But we also find it successful if students say, I'm so glad I was here. I learned a lot. I grew as a person, and I now know that research is not right for me. I'm going to be looking at industry jobs. You know, and I think sometimes students are a little bit shy about telling me that in sort of our exit interview, that I liked being here, but now it helped me discover that I'd like to do something else. And I say that's a success too, because this is all about giving you a really good look at what research is like as a career. And all is not lost on these programs. Say you come to an RE program for 10 weeks and you decide, yeah, this research area isn't right for me, or just research in general isn't right for me. Or maybe you like it. In and of itself, through this RU program, you'll be developing professional skills that are really translatable to all different types of career paths. Because again, you'll be learning communication, both formal communication, through presentations, poster presentations, written reports, but also the less formal types of communication, how to just get things done and contact people, and just in a more professional setting than maybe what you're used to, in your day-to-day life as a student, taking care of your coursework. You'll also learn another dimension to collaboration. I'm guessing at Tulane in a lot of your courses, you're doing a lot of collaborative work with your peers in your courses. But I think the collaboration aspect in the RU program takes it to another level, because you're working with peers, but you're also working with, mentors and other technicians and things that are supporting the research enterprise at that university. And you're learning to get things done in a more collaborative environment where maybe not everybody's, at the same level, for example, in a course. And just the idea of learning how to manage a project. So as an RU participant, you will be given your own research project. It'll fit within the bigger goals of whatever lab you join, but you'll be given like your own project. So, for an RU or research experience, it's really important that you get a project that's your own. Even if it's a smaller part of a larger project, we want you to be investigating something that you can truly call your own. Nobody's ever studied this or looked at this or, made this material or studied this process before. So how to apply? What you'll want to do first, I think, is find out what the opportunities are. I will make sure that this link gets into the chat window after I've stopped sharing my screen. But there is a website that NSF provides where you can search for REU opportunities by keyword. So you can look in, if there's a certain area of the country or a certain research topic or area that you're interested in and you want to know if there's an REU for that, you can search this site. Some common things so once you have some REU sites that you want to apply to, some common things that will be required of you are some sort of an essay that has you explaining your research interests and how an REU experience will help you achieve your goals. And usually these are, a page to a page and a half in length. You'll also want to be providing your transcripts, and it is completely fine for you to submit unofficial transcripts for this purpose. Again, if you apply to say 10 RU programs, that can get kind of costly requesting official transcripts for each one of those. So it's fine to just submit an unofficial copy. You'll also want to have letters of recommendation from faculty who know you, and your technical and academic strengths. Our program requires or asks for 2 letters of recommendation, and I think we have an open spot where you can add a third, but really you're just looking at 1 or 2. It's best if they come from professors, again, that know you well. And my recommendation is to begin the ask for those letters now. Usually an effective way to approach a professor about writing a letter of recommendation is to lead in with, I'm thinking about applying to REUs for summer of 2021. Could I set up a time to meet with you, to get your advice on this? That I find is probably an easier way for students to approach that ask, is to come seeking advice from the faculty member, especially if you're starting now in early November. And then when you get there, you can talk to them, and as they're giving you the advice, you can ask them, would you be willing to write a strong letter of recommendation to support my application? So that's just one piece of advice that I find has been working well for our students in terms of how do you get the ball rolling with asking for recommendation letters. Some things that might also be requested from you, this varies by program, is a up-to-date copy of your resume, and the particular program may have some additional essay prompts for you to fill out. That can really vary by program. So once you've found the opportunities that you want to apply to, it's best to just skim through their application requirements and find out if there's some other essays you need to prepare. The other thing to watch out for is that deadlines vary by program. So probably the earliest deadline that you might encounter for an RU program, I would say, would be sometime in December, but it's more common for RU program deadlines to fall sometime in January or February. I know for our program, we've just settled on February 15th, but that's not a universal deadline, so it's really important to, as you identify programs, note what the deadline would be. Okay, so that was a lot of general information about RU programs. We wanted to make sure that you knew what the opportunities were at Iowa State. And again, once we're done, I only have a couple more slides left. We'll put the links to these programs in the chat so that you can explore them. The program that I co-direct is Biomap, Biological Materials and Processes. So this is led and run by faculty in chemical and biological engineering in our department, and it covers everything from the development of biologically based materials. So for example, materials that go into nanovaccines, to the study of biological tissues. For example, there we've kind of listed the fundamentals of tumor cell growth and tumor cell migration, for example. It's just one type of project. But we also work on biological processing. So this would be something like biomass conversion. So in Iowa, we're in the Midwest. The area is very agriculturally based. And so we have a lot of experts that look at how to use catalysis to get improved biomass conversion, or how to make things out of products that come as byproducts from biomass conversion and things like that. So more chemical engineering topics, but just applied to the area of biomass. Let's see, the next one is Mosaic, and this is Dr. Shrotriya's program. So I'm going to let him pipe in here with his thoughts on his program.
Thank you, Monica. So this is, so Mosaic is multi-scale sensing, actuation, and imaging. So again, we have research project, as the name says, on building sensors, biosensors, other types of sensors using microfabrication, or so sensors are a combination of electrical circuits and mechanical systems. So you combine them together to get a sensor, or using chemistry and electrical devices to build sensor, or imaging technologies where you take pictures of using X-rays, using lasers, using optical or cameras, and use them for learning a design process or manufacturing process, as well as on designing of sensors. And as Dr. Lamm mentioned, that this is a sort of your immersive 10-week experience. So another benefit of coming is you get a very nice, as you can see from these pictures that Dr. Lamm showed, and you get to work with people from all over the country, and you get another group of friends. And that's what a lot of people have found very valuable, not just networking with your institute, but networking with the new institute where you go, as well as all the group of undergraduate scholars who have come from everywhere. You have a nice cohort to work with. Okay.
Okay.
So
That's great. Thank you. And, you know, just to play off of what Dr. Shrotriya was mentioning about the networking, so you do have like for example, in the Mosaic cohort that's pictured there, you do have a lot of opportunities to meet students from all around the country. We also have found that there's some opportunities for vertical networking as well. So a lot of our summer research projects continue from one summer to the next. And so we've been starting to hold Biomap reunions, so to speak, at our National Professional Society meeting. So for us, that would be American Institute of Chemical Engineers. And so sometimes we'll have meetups there. So as you kind of progress through your curriculum, and you might be coming back to the meeting to present on your research now as a graduate student, we'll just put a call out for a meetup. And it's just nice to get back together. And sometimes what we found is that students who were at our REU site, but in different years have, found each other and found something in common as they've started graduate school together or something. So there's again, just like what a network sounds, there's all kinds of possibilities for just expanding your professional network through an REU. There's one more REU site that I want to talk about. This is not one that I lead, but this is one that's led by Dr. Benjamin Ahn, who is a professor in our Aerospace Engineering department. And the theme of this REU site is unmanned aerial systems. And so this program runs in the summer as well. It's 10 weeks. And I'll give the website in the chat as well when I'm done with these slides. But the types of systems that this RU works on is the students do a lot of hands-on designing and building. So they're building test beds for unmanned flight. They're building simulators that people will use to test unmanned aerial systems. There's one project that I noticed that I thought was really interesting. Again, living in the Midwest where we're thinking about traveling maybe in the wintertime, is just designing autonomous de-icing systems. So this could be on commercial aircraft, but it could also be important for unmanned aircraft as well. And so just kind of using different technologies and latest research to design these systems. So at this point, I would love, and Dr. Shrotriya would love to hear questions that you have.
Hello. So I'm actually a junior at this moment, and I never really considered research because I don't know, I guess when I was like younger, I didn't think I would be able to afford grad school. But now I know that there's so many opportunities out there for financial aid and things like that. So I'm kind of considering it now, but I just feel like it's like really late in my college career to be starting research, if that makes sense. Because I know a lot of my peers already work in labs with our professors and things like that, but it's just jumping into the field, and also there's just so many things that people are researching, and it's really overwhelming how many topics there are. And so yeah.
Well, yeah, Emma, I mean, so you are at just the right time as far as the REU. So you do have to be an undergraduate. So between your junior and senior year is a great time to get that first experience. The REU programs are set up for students who haven't had the opportunity to do research before. So that's actually something you can talk about in your statement of, I just haven't been able to fit research in yet. I would like to do it over this summer. So yeah, you're not too late. I just, by way of personal experience, I did not decide to go to graduate school until the last semester of my senior year in college. I also just didn't know a lot about research in general or what it meant to get a PhD. And I've also felt like, oh, now that I found out, I really want to do it, and it's too late because all my friends had been doing research. But it ended up, it wasn't too late at all. And I was able to catch up pretty quick. So, I would say, go for it and apply. As far as choosing a topic, I was curious what your major is right now.
Oh, I'm chemical and biomolecular engineering. And I chose it because Tulane only offers 3. It's ENGP, which is engineering, physics, chemical engineering, and biomedical. And so entering college, I really wanted to do environmental engineering. And so I think the the best choice for me was chemical engineering. But we do like a lot of like biochemistry. Like I'm in biochemistry right now. My first semester sophomore year, I took like biotechnology. So I'm kind of interested in that now just because I've been exposed to so much of it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I think, Dr. Shrotriya, I think you would have, there'd be some fits in your program as well, right?
That's what I wanted to say. You'll be a good fit for Biomap if you wanted to, but even in mechanical engineering, a lot of people do research. As I said, mentioned, biosensors. We work with biochemistry and trying to develop sensors for different days. So my research group works on trying to develop sensor for Ebola viruses or infections for or advanced kidney failure or other things. So it's not research is, even though you might feel like, just like Dr. Lamm mentioned, it's never too late to start. Whenever you want to start, that's perfectly fine. Only thing which is required is your passion. So if you find something passionate to do, that would be fine. And the REU experience, I think this is perfect time for you to do an REU right now at ISU or any other place, because this would be the right time to decide whether you want to invest this 2 years or 5 years later on towards going to graduate school or not. So as Dr. Lamm mentioned, that this would be, it's an immersive environment, immersive experience of 10 weeks, and you can decide whether graduate school is really for you or not for you. Usually people, what we have found is people really like the whole environment because you can extend your college life for another 5 or 6 years, which is the fun part, which is a little less responsibility. And in terms of financial aid, if you go towards any engineering program, most of the engineering PhDs, if you get admitted to a graduate school, your grad school will be paid for because you'll be doing research and you'll be supported as a research assistant or as a fellowship or as a fellow or as a teaching assistant throughout your PhD or master's program in most places. So if you go towards an STEM field in either biochemistry or an engineering field, I don't think financially you shouldn't think of it as a burden that you have to take a loan or anything. Most of the people get a stipend and the tuition is paid for. You don't have that much of a burden as graduate school. Maybe undergraduate education might be more of a loan based, but graduate educations you work your way through and you don't have to worry about financial aid there. And that's something that you can learn about, what the support opportunities are going through an REU experience. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And a lot of us have, in our REU programs, we have a weekly lunch and learn for your group. And so what that does, what the lunch and learn seminars are about are like once a week, we'll invite one of the mentors from our Biomap RU to come and talk to all of you. So, you know, imagine you join the RU with 10 students, you do some group training, but then you all go out to your different research projects and start working on them. Well, we want to make sure that you're still learning about what everybody else is doing. What are the opportunities at the university? And so we've had a lot of students that have come to our Biomap REU and then come back as graduate students and are working in other groups because they learned, you know, the REU got their foot in the door, so to speak, got them to see, you know, a little bit about research and their skills and their talents for research, but it also opened a lot of doors to looking at other opportunities. So I think for somebody like you who finds a lot of different areas appealing, you know, I think just, you know, putting yourself out there, applying, getting a project, giving it your best, and then also keeping your eyes open as to what other opportunities are, it'd be a great experience.
Yeah.
Did you have any other questions, Emma?
Not really. I was just here. I've just been like attending a lot of talks, like from recent alumni actually from Tulane, just talking about grad school and things like that. So I'm just trying to learn as much as I can. But yeah, it's definitely on my radar now, knowing that it's like feasible like financially, and it's kind of like going into my like major, I kind of like imagined myself in a lab. Like I thought that's what engineers did, but like we really just go to like power plants and like troubleshoot and things like that. So that's why I'm like kind of considering research now, because like it's kind of like what I imagined myself doing when I did choose my major.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, the process engineering that you described, that's typically what our students do, like with their undergraduate degree as well, when they go out into the workforce, some sort of process engineering. You know, it could be in different industries, not just power and utilities. But yeah, I think that's really what opened my eyes to graduate school as well. As all throughout undergraduate, I had a lot of internships where I was doing process engineering, and I loved it. But I also felt like, I don't know if I would want to do this, you know, for my entire career. And that's where I really caught the, you know, the idea that like that doing research would be a more fulfilling career path for me. So yeah, I think I would have really enjoyed the chance to try out like a summer research experience. So that's great. I'm glad you came tonight and we could answer those questions for you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.